So what role does faith play in like reclaiming your life after you leave after you leave the cult or the toxic influence?
Yeah, so some people have said, "Hey, it's great that, you didn't turn your back on your faith after all this." And I answer, "Well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have my faith." I was never suicidal, but I had really hit rock bottom. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was a wreck. It was a really bad year when I went through all that, but I recovered. And so now, I don't have a family guru, that I look towards or I'm afraid of. I don't have a wife that I'm afraid of, not walking around on eggshells. If I have an issue or a problem or I'm afraid or whatever it is, I can go straight to the Lord, right? And the Bible talks about we can call him Abba, Father, our Father in the Lord, right? And just go straight to him. There's a chapter in the Bible from James chapter 1, and I'll paraphrase it. It says, listen, if you lack wisdom, ask it, and he'll give it to you, but don't doubt. And so I have done that. So I am a million times stronger now as a man. I was a shadow of a man. It's embarrassing how wimpy and scared I was, 7, 8 years ago. I'm a million times stronger now, Lee. And I don't say that arrogantly. I say that because the Lord has taken me from this horrible position and I've experienced all this pain. And I've used that, kind of like the phoenix, right, to rise from the ashes. And now I'm a much stronger man. And I thank the Lord for that. I wish I could have learned this lesson a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said right there, like with Uncle Robert being the intermediary to God or just playing the middleman, was it different trying to establish a new that reconnection? I know you said you never lost your faith and whatnot. Was it different when he was removed though? Like, did it feel different, like immediately
Yeah.
reconnecting to God
Yeah.
with this new perspective without him in the middle of it?
Yeah, a lot of people talk about, well, do you experience shame or guilt because you got sucked into this cult? And no, I don't experience any of that at all. There's a million different ways it could happen, right? That somebody could get sucked in. For me, it was trying to get along with my wife and save my marriage. But when I finally had the realization where the Lord opened my eyes and ears to the truth, there was a little bit of shame, like, oh my gosh, like what an idiot. Why did I do this? Of course, there is forgiveness, right? But I will say this though, and there was a Paige's younger sister. She got shunned and kicked out of the cult 25 years ago. I mean, they treated her viciously. She and I
Mm.
reconnected because I didn't talk to her at all for most of my marriage to her Paige. But she and I reconnected, and we kind of were swapping stories, right, of our experience in this cult. And she said it may take you years to not hear Uncle Robert's voice in your head.
Mm.
And it didn't take years, but it probably took almost a year where I would hear a pastor speak or I would read a Bible verse and I would hear his interpretation, his voice in my head. Thankfully, I don't hear that anymore. But I'm sure a lot of cult leaders will, cult members will have that, where there's this residue that takes a long time to kind of wash away from you. And I think that's probably normal for people that get out of a cult. It's not an overnight
Mhm.
transformation.
Is there anything you feel like you did in particular to help with that transition right there to like get rid of that residue that you just mentioned, like
Mm.
not necessarily hearing his voice anymore and whatnot?
Yeah. So I always tell people that when you are isolated, when you become isolated, then you become very vulnerable to a con artist, a narcissist, or a cult leader, right? Again, in the Bible talks about the body of Christ. So if I cut off my thumb, I'm not going to die. My thumb will die, right? Okay, so when we became cut off, I didn't really have other people that I was listening to. It was only Uncle Robert. Well, when I got out of the cult, then I started to listen to other people. And I would have several people in my life, Lee, that I would listen to. Some I would agree with, some I didn't. But the key was I was no longer isolated. I was interacting and having good, healthy conversations with other believers, other people that I admired and respected, hearing different viewpoints. And that was a new thing because I only heard one voice for so long. And so what really helped me was then being vulnerable, telling everybody, here's what happened, here's what I went through. And then those people could then speak into my life. And that was awesome when I finally got that back in my life.